Well, hey, I'm Andryanna, and welcome back to The Juggle is Real. I figured for today's solo episode, we could talk about something that feels pretty relevant right now as we're gearing up for summer. The kids being home, maybe you're going to be home more or you have things planned. And the topic is cultivating patience. It's something that I have been working on in different aspects of my life and definitely not getting it right all the time. And so for this episode, I want to share maybe some stories about how I went from that like very impatient stress spiral to kind of like finding a little more peace. And I'm talking about stuff around the house and about 1 month ago, and specifically when I was looking around the house and feeling extremely impatient. I want to talk about why cultivating patience is a game changer for your mental health, for your family, and for yourself and your goals. And I want to share some research backed strategies and practical tools to practice patience in your everyday life. So, this is a framework that you can use to check in with yourself you're getting a little antsy, when you're feeling frustrated or like you're behind, or maybe you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. And if you ever find yourself thinking, why is this not done yet? Well, this episode is for you. So let's dive right in.
This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started.
Okay, so let's start this off by just like really calling myself out on how I can be extremely impatient at times. And it was about a little over a month ago, and I actually was thinking about this just yesterday, which was the impetus for this episode altogether. But we had, finished a few things that we were doing around the house, and we had completed a few things. And I was just looking around saying, like, wow, like, I'm pretty proud of us for getting some things done. And it made me think of like about a month earlier when I was having this moment of just like, oh my God, like so much needs to be done. And what should I start with? And why isn't this done? And like feeling really down on myself, feeling extremely impatient about wanting everything done like right away. I wished I could have just like snapped my fingers and got it all done. And I actually posted a list of all of the things that were making me feel behind. And it was on May 14th, and it was just like a carousel post on Instagram, and I'll throw it in the notes in case you want to see it. But it was just like all of these things. And of course, if you've listened before, I live in the north, we have long winters. And on May 14th, like we were just starting to get consistent, nice weather. And we had hockey tournament, and, there were some things that were making our calendar quite full. So I felt like I was pretty behind in what I thought I should have done by that time. The Christmas urns were still out in our front porch. And like I will say, the evergreen branches, they were orange and brown, and they were all over the front porch step. We still had all of our winter stuff, the gear, the mitts, which, by the way, were literally all left hand gloves. There was not one right handed glove. So, anyway, I guess next winter we're starting from scratch. Or if there's a place that I could buy just righties, let me know. But all the winter stuff was out. We had, started getting spring and summer stuff out, but the deck was in bad shape. Like it needed to be stained. And then I was looking and there was things that like we've lived here for quite some time and things that I wanted to do right when we moved in that still wasn't done, like getting our upper stairwell painted just because it's a little bit higher, not something that we could do on our own. Anyway, the list seemed endless. There was so much I wanted to do. And in that moment, it felt so urgent, like it needed to be handled right now, like all of it immediately. And so, yesterday, fast forward about a month later, it's all done, right? Some of it I did, some of it my husband Ryan did, and some of it we hired help and were supported in getting some things done. And that experience has really reminded me, and it's been such a clear reminder and something I was reflecting about yesterday, is that, things do always seem to get done. Like in my experience, the things that we want to do, we do eventually do, you know? And maybe it's not instantly, and maybe it's not 100% perfectly, but they do get done. And so I know for myself, I know for many of us, we often overestimate what needs fixing, what needs doing right here and right now. And then we underestimate the impact of giving things space to unfold. So, obviously, this was just an example of around the house, and we'll get to that too. But it's not just things that need to be done around the house. I feel like oftentimes I'm really impatient with myself, with my goals. I can be impatient with my family and my children sometimes, which can break my heart after the fact. So I just want to talk about the case for patience. And I think it's timely too, because when I am in that really like impatient, antsy mode, the anxiety kind of like amps up for me. And so in last week's episode, when we were talking with Dr. Christine Latteroot, she was really supportive in, just like helping us through what that might be. So I invite you to listen to that if you haven't yet. And if not, you can listen to it after. But patience really is a virtue. Like it's not just this saying that we say, right? So can we break it down? And why does patience matter so much? Well, when we are more patient, our stress levels are reduced. So in 2021, there was a study published in the Journal of Positive Psychology, and the study found that people who identify as more patient report higher satisfaction with life and lower depression and anxiety scores. So, I mean, we don't need research really to tell us this. And I think sometimes, even if we can think to just like our parents or people that we know, like maybe it's something about getting a little bit older, you kind of calm down a bit. You kind of realize like not everything needs our immediate attention, but, like, my dad is one of the most chill guys. He's so patient. He's an amazing father, but, like, nothing gets him terribly worked up, you know? And so I just think about this, like, people who identify as more patient are more satisfied, they're less depressed, they have less anxiety, and so, of course, we want to have these things, right? Being more patient, of course, is going to improve our parenting. And we don't need research to show us this, but of course, there is research that parents who can regulate their impatience are more likely to foster emotional resilience in their children. And this came from a developmental psychology study in 2022. And then our patience actually can boost our productivity. And this is a big one for me because it doesn't seem as obvious as the other two, but when we slow down, we can actually make better and more aligned decisions. And so, in the moment where we feel like we have to go, 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 and do, and hustle, 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 and that impatience can feel like really jarring, being able to tell ourselves, like, wait a second, like that patience can actually help us in being more productive, in being more efficient, and in actually doing the right things that are going to move the needle in the right directions. So patience, I just want to clear the air. It's not really being passive. It's not really like being a pushover. It's not really like just letting things slide and then everything turns into like, I don't know, like a big dump around the house, right? Like it is more of that strategic calm. And so I've been trying to think of it in this way. Patience for me can be this little voice that I am constantly reminding myself of. And I say that I trust that I am on the right path, even if it all doesn't happen today. So everything is always working out for me. And I'm pretty sure I've done an entire podcast episode just on this one phrase. Everything is always working out for me. And it came from learnings from Abraham Hicks as well as Hannah Khan. And that little voice of patience, of calm, of understanding, of compassion, I trust that I'm on the right path. And no matter what happens, no matter what I do or what I don't do, whatever is meant for me is going to come to me. And so everything is working out. So, where can we cultivate patience? How can we cultivate patience? And I've broken it down into three areas that I think, I mean, for me are huge. For those of us who are in this very full and busy stage of life, these can often be pain points. So, where can we cultivate more patience? I think three big ones are around the house, with our family and our children, and with ourselves and with our goals. So, the first one around the house, I mean, it's it it's taken me a long time, and even as I record this, I can literally see like a bag of cookie wrapper on the floor about 10 feet away from me. And so it has been a very true lesson in cultivating patience. And I'm telling you, just this post from May 14th, I am not doing it all the time and I can get really, really worked up. But I have to just tell myself, and we have to remember that our home does not need to be a magazine spread. Yes, we're seeing like all of these things and the Pinterest perfect homes and these photo shoots of, before and afters. And we see the after on the day. And even if you watch these shows, like you see how much goes into the after of getting the lighting, like, they bring in, like a lighting director, and they have all of this, like, that's not what their house looks like, okay? So, I wanna see the show where it's, like, 1 month later, 3 months later, they just show up unannounced, no one knows they're coming. What does the home look like then? Right? What does the finished product look like then? And if your house is a functional space where, places tend to actually have a home. So sometimes that can be a problem is where like, there's stuff all over the place, but there's nowhere to actually put it. So sometimes it is lying around. But if you can create a space that can feel like a sanctuary for your real life, so I'm talking like, yes, there's mini sticks on the floor, but like my mail has a place to go and the bills have a spot so it's not piling up on my counter. Or like, yeah, maybe there's like some laundry that is still in a basket that needs putting away. And sure, that's not going to show up in a magazine spread, but it's clean. And if I need to grab some socks or a pair of underwear for my kids, like I know it's in the basket. So it's not going to work me up too much. So asking ourselves, can I let this be good enough for now? After dinner, there's often a big mess and I don't want to leave it all, but can I tidy up some things, put away the leftovers, maybe load the dishwasher, and I'm not going to mop the floors or like scrub everything and Windex and all of that stuff. Can I just go outside and hang out with my kids? Can I let this be good enough for now? So here's a little tip that I found to be helpful that has been recommended. The tip is to choose one space per week to tend to instead of trying to fix everything at once. So maybe it's like you want to go into this big decluttering phase and it feels really overwhelming and it feels really daunting. Or maybe you want to, swap out your kids' closets. So instead of trying to do everything all at once, you're going to pick one space and that's going to be like your Sunday project. Or when you find an hour pocket, like you're going to reorganize the kids' toy drawers or something, right? So instead of feeling super overwhelmed by like your massive list of to-dos, kind of putting a plan in place. So it's like once a week, I'm going to do one spot. And instead of fixing everything at once, it can be that lesson. And sure, if you open my junk drawers right now, it's going to be like a tornado hit it. Maybe keep it closed. But if I know that I will get to it and I'm going to choose this on this week and I will get to that next week, I think it can calm me down a little bit. So let's see, maybe that can work for you as well. The next area where we can really cultivate patience that I'm learning and working on is with our children, with my husband, but especially with the kids. And something that I have to remember is that kids really do move at their own pace. And kids learn through repetition, they learn through emotion, and they also learn through us. They learn through our nervous system. And again, like this is really timely that I'm talking about cultivating patience because we just had the most incredible episode where I learned so much from Catherine Ann Flynn. We were talking about co regulation, we were talking about really being in attunement with our children. And so when we're really impatient and antsy and like chop, 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 and this needs to be done and hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I mean, we all know that that's going to manifest into their anxiety and how they're feeling and their emotional regulation. So, in cultivating my own patience, I have to try to remember trying co regulation instead of control and taking those breaths before I have a big reaction and trying to respond from a place of they're young, they're still learning, they have their own pace that I need to attune to. And my schedule doesn't often mean that theirs is wrong, right? And of course we do have places to go and there's things that have to be done in a day and it can make me bonkers when no one's listening and I'm repeating myself a million times. But cultivating that practice of like taking those breaths and in the moment being like, okay, you know, if we're 3 minutes late for school today, not the end of the world. Like truly, truly. And like we are often 3 minutes late for school, but it's going to matter more how we get to school and the process of getting out the door versus getting there 3 minutes early and everyone is like an emotional wreck and I've like gained 7 gray hairs because I've like been screaming my face off. So anyway, that is something that we can all practice. And a visual that was brought to me that I think is really cool can be really helpful in the moment when we're talking about cultivating patience with our children is picturing ourselves like as parents, as adults, as a lighthouse, not a tugboat, right? So we are the lighthouse. We are there to guide them. We are there to give them direction. We are there to support them, but we are not there to drag them along, right? We are not the tugboat that's forcing them through the waves and the storm. We are the lighthouse. And I can just, like visualize that beam of light going onto them to like give them that direction. And it's not like scaring them. It's not like, I don't know, all of the things that come up, right? We're not the tugboat, we are the lighthouse. We're not going to drag them, we should be guiding them. And that's helping me a little bit with practicing patience with my kids. And then the third one, which I think is sometimes the most difficult, to be patient with ourselves, with the goals that we set for ourselves. And something that, again, I'm constantly working on. And it reminds me of something that I come back to all the time, which is another phrase from a past coach and mentor of mine, Hina Khan, which is that goals are meant to help us grow. Goals are for our growth. So, yes, getting to the end point, getting to the destination of whatever that goal might be is beautiful and it's magnificent and it's amazing when you get there, but it's really that process of getting there. That is the whole point. And sometimes goals do take time. So, whether you're thinking about like a business venture or something that you are aspiring to in your career, or maybe you have a creative dream, or maybe there's some type of a fitness milestone that you're working towards. Truly, truly, and we hear it all the time, but that progress, what you're gonna learn in the process, it matters so much more than the perfect end product and getting to that destination. And it can be really hard to think of it in the moment where your goal or whatever it is that you want can seem so far away. So instead of thinking of it as that like far out destination, what if we could change how we believed? And what if we could believe that we are exactly where we need to be right now? And sure, maybe we want to, you know, fit into a smaller size of jeans, or maybe we want to get that promotion, or maybe we want to be making more money, or maybe we want to be living in a different place. But what would change If you believe that you are exactly where you need to be right now, doing the things that are going to move the needle and get you to that place, but the learnings that you are taking from it right now are what you need to get there. So you can try this. And we talked about this in the June reset, but doing those resets. And when you're doing the recap of the things that you've done in a week, why don't you name one small thing that you've done this week that actually does support your long-term vision, that actually does get you a tiny bit closer to that goal, that can support you in feeling better where you are here and now and not as impatient because you haven't quite gotten to that final destination. And if you can't think of something, if you truly, truly, truly cannot think of one small thing that you've done in a week that supports you with that longer goal or that vision that you have, well, why don't you set the intention for this following week to do one small thing? And maybe you can make a list of those tiny little things that can get you just a tiny bit closer. And I can assure you that when you set that intention of like, okay, so what's one more thing that I could do? Is it to send one more email? Is it to, walk, for 10 more minutes or whatever that might be? What's that small thing that you can do? And in that growth, you're going to get to where you want to be. And so it's tricky because sometimes what looks like a plateau, what looks like failure or what looks like, nothing's happening, it really is that incubation period. So sometimes those slower seasons, like we can feel like we are, just like in a hamster wheel and we can't figure it out. But in those moments, like coming back to that phrase of like, everything is always working out for me, understanding that slow seasons are not wasted seasons. And there's something that you need to learn, there's something that you need to do that will support you once you're off that plateau. And so you can maybe journal on this, you can give yourself this prompt, but what is this season teaching me that maybe getting that instant fast result would skip? So what is it maybe that you are in right now and going through right now that if someone just handed you like plopped it on your desk and said here's the $1 million or here's the dream home or here's the weight loss or the promotion, like if you got it right here and right now today, like would you really want it? You know what I mean? Like, so what are you in- learning right now that's going to support you in getting to where you need to be? And I think sometimes just realizing that, I mean, I think too, like I can remember feeling really impatient with my career and wanting to, have like a really big position and making a lot of money, like really, really early on in my career. And I would see these positions like come up on job postings and be like, I could totally do that. But I think of where I started and, the different roles that I had and the jobs I had, even the ones that I hated. Like I can remember moving to Toronto and I was like doe-eyed and like so just naive, I guess. And I was like, I'm gonna be like Carrie Bradshaw and like, all of these things. And it was really tough. And I did not love the work that I did. But it allowed me to go through those motions to find out what it is that I really like. And no, data entry is not something that I enjoy, but it brought me to where I am today. So, what is this season teaching you that if you got it instantly, you would never get to learn? And that's something that's really helping me. So, those are those three places that maybe we can cultivate a bit more patience. But in the moment, I think we can still all get a little riled up and we can feel like it's never happening or why isn't it done yet? Or like, why do I have to wait? So let's talk about maybe a bit of a patience practice, a bit of a framework that we can come back to. And so it's called the pause method and it is an acronym. So all the letters in pause stand for something. We've got P for presence. And in the moment when we're feeling really impatient, let's think about our presence and coming back to the moment. So, can we take 3 deep breaths? A is for awareness. So, what are you feeling in your body? What is, being more aware of the moment, how you're feeling. Are you, do you have like a nervous pit in your stomach, or are you feeling, really anxious in your chest, or are you really tense, or are you like clenching your fist? The awareness, what are you feeling in your body? The U in pause stands for understanding. Like, what story are you telling yourself right now? If I could go back to myself on May 14th, as I was posting like just this crazy frenetic energy and feeling down on myself and like wanting to cultivate more compassion, like what was going on in my head that I felt like all of a sudden I needed to get like 54 things done just in that moment. So have that understanding. What are you telling yourself right now? Is it true? Like, is there like a burning building and you need to escape right away? Or like, do you have a couple moments and you will get to it when you get to it? So U stands for understanding. The S, I've alluded to it, is self compassion. And we can often have so much compassion for those around us. So when we are feeling really impatient, can we speak to ourselves the way we would speak to our children, our best friend, someone who's really struggling? Can we have self compassion in those moments? And then E, if you know how to spell pause, it ends with the letter E. And the E is for extend the timeline. So ask yourself, what if I gave this 2 more minutes, 2 more days, weeks, months, years, whatever it is? But ask yourself, like, so when you are like feeling super frustrated because your toddler is taking forever to put their shoes on, what if I just gave this 2 more minutes? You know, take those deep breaths. Or when you're working towards something for work, what if I gave this 2 more hours, and really allowed myself to take more time with it, to proofread properly, to go back and really review it with a fresh set of eyes. And sometimes these things take more time. So what if I gave myself 2 more months? I know that we set goals, maybe quarterly or 6 months out or for the year. And maybe you don't quite get there like in the exact timeline that you set for yourself. But again, like a goal is to grow. So what have you learned during that time? And what if you gave yourself 2 more months? What could happen during that time? And sometimes, my friend, we need years. Sometimes we just do. And I laugh because one of the things on my list of to dos that all of a sudden, May 14th, 2025, I needed our stairwell to be painted. And yet we've lived in this home for 13 years. And yes, I've wanted it to get done, but what if I gave it a little more time? And I'm so happy to report that we did end up getting someone to come and do it, and now it's painted, and it's the same color as the walls on the main floor and in the upper area, and yeah, of course, it looks so much better, but what if you gave yourself that timeline? So that is the pause method. That is what you can give yourself as a framework to come back to. So P for presence, A for awareness, U for understanding, S for self-compassion, and E to extend the timeline. So feel free to use this practice anytime you feel that pressure mounting, or when you're in those moments where you're clutching your fists and you feel really impatient with yourself or someone around you. And let me know how it goes. As we close out this episode, a couple of things I want you to remember. Sometimes what's feeling really urgent today and in the moment, you might not even remember next month. It might not even register. And you're totally doing enough. You are totally 100% doing enough. Even if it doesn't all get done today, even if you don't scratch everything off your to do list, I promise you, you are doing enough. Patience is a practice. It is not something you're either born with or you're not, or you have or you don't have. It's something that you are cultivating every day and in every moment. And really, this practice of building your patience, it's a practice worth building. So I would just say, think of it as a practice. It is a learning. You don't go to a practice. My kids aren't going to hockey practice to be perfect. They are going to learn. And patience is something that we're practicing all the time. So those mini action steps, I think whether it's choosing one area of your life where you can soften your timeline, where you can offer yourself a little more grace, a little bit more compassion, that's going to be that mini action step that you're going to notice a huge impact and a big difference. So as we close out, I just want you to consider that a little bit. Maybe give yourself a couple minutes after this episode to just let this sit with you, to cultivate a little bit more patience in the moment. And before you rush off into the next thing, like maybe just let this all sit with you and take a few of those deep breaths and think about, what you can let settle. And maybe there are things that need your immediate attention, but I can guarantee you that there's something that you are freaking out about or getting stressed about that you can soften a little, and it's going to make you feel a whole lot better. If this episode resonated with you, can you please share it with a friend? Rate and review the show. Write me that review on Apple Podcasts, and maybe let me know what part landed with you the most. You can slide into my DMs on Instagram at Andryanna G. There's an email address found in the notes for this podcast episode. And until the next time, breathe deep, trust your pace. You're doing so great. You're so amazing. And until the next episode, take good care.